All right, let's further this discussion with Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, who's a political analyst and director for the Center for the Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at the Nelson Mandela University. Professor, it's always a pleasure. So in an unprecedented turn of events, it seems the MKP's motion against Premier Ntuli might just be gaining some traction, as you alluded to in our earlier package. But as the EFF now has voiced its support for this move, which has since received criticism that this move by the party is actually opportunistic. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alicia, and good afternoon to your viewers. In politics, my sister, we can always expect these kinds of statements, and there is nothing wrong with that. It always happens. This is not an exception. So basically, what we see happening is not in contravention of the law, which means that what the MK party is doing is what all other parties have done in different legislatures, including, of course, the National Assembly. You remember that there have been instances where motions of no confidence have been raised in the National Assembly invoking Section 89 of the Constitution. And then, of course, in the provincial legislatures, you still do the same. So there is nothing untoward about it. As to the reasons why the MK party is raising this motion, that will always remain debatable, depending on who you ask. Because if you were to ask Mr. Ntuli, then he would say that as far as this concerned, he has done his job. Then you ask the MK party, then it will tell you that he has failed. And then they'll go to an extent of citing the NFP, which at one point said that they were not happy in this coalition in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly because, or at least among the factors being that he refused to take action against two of the MECs, being the MEC for health and then the MEC for education. So they were clear about that. So whether then that is correct or not, then they know better than we do, because they meet alone in the legislature when those of us are doing our normal duties. But in terms of the law, it's within the law. As for the numbers, anything is possible. We are looking at the numbers, and then at face value, everything looks pretty clear that if you have the DA, the IFP, and the ANC voting together, you are guaranteed of 50% of the seats. In other words, 40 out of 80. Then you have the MK party with 37. Then we have the EFF with 2, giving them 39. You still have the NFP, whose vote is not known which side it's going to go to. If it goes to the MK faction, then it will give you 40. So it's 40 apiece. Then we'll just wait and see what's going to happen next.
Very interesting indeed. Well, in a counter move, according to the latest reports, Professor, the IFP Youth Brigade is now apparently calling for the ouster of all EFF councillors that are currently holding positions in municipalities right across KwaZulu-Natal, calling for a counter motion of no confidence against all EFF councillors within these positions. So does this make any sense? And on what basis, really, would they make this move in any political context?
Alicia, coincidentally, I was at an event yesterday where I was saying that there is a difference between arguing on substance and facts and then making political noise on the other hand. What you just alluded to is equivalent to making political noise, working out of emotions and not necessarily based on substance. If these EFF councillors have done something wrong, they have all the reasons to then invoke the vote of no confidence. But if they do it out of anger, then of course it is misplaced and it doesn't take the people of KwaZulu-Natal first. Instead, they're thinking about their own positions. Anger, of course, does not live in the same space as reasoning. If your reasoning goes down, then anger goes up. If your anger goes down, then your reasoning ability will go up. The two don't share the same space.
Very interesting observation there, Professor. I mean, reality is, though, that the MKP was the majority party, or should you say is the majority party since elections in KZN, and this should have long been resolved accordingly right from the onset. So what do you make of these cracks within the government of provincial unity? There's long been stemming allegations, even way before the elections, that regions run by the AFP as not being performing. Hence, the party was not even in the top 3 provincially.
Alicia, let's speak the truth, my sister. The reason KwaZulu-Natal is where it is right now is not necessarily because of people being able to do the job or not being able to do the job. It's because this coalition was put together under false pretenses, and it was basically built on a shaky ground. There was nothing of substance that brought these political parties together, except what CNA now told us when he went to the Oval Office in America, that their only reason for working with the ANC was to keep the EFF and the MK party out of parliament at a national level. And that cascaded down to the provincial level, and then I dare say in some municipalities as well. So you can then see that whether you're talking about this coalition at a national level, we are talking about it at a provincial level, the founding principles are already the same, that it was based on lies, and then it was based also on dishonesty on the side of the politicians. That is why we've been hearing these stories, and we're going to hear them until the next election in 2026, and then maybe also in 2029 when we have our next general election.
We're going to leave it there. Professor Tamintuli, the Premier in question, was facing that motion earlier there, of course, saying that the MK party has always been on the left and should remain on the left and will remain on the left even after, of course, tomorrow's motion. Professor Bheki Mngomezulu is a political analyst there weighing in on the MK party's motion of no confidence against KwaZulu-Natal Premier Thamsanqa Ntuli.